Hello everyone who is interested in growing figs. It is now the first decade of March 2023. In many regions, figs have begun to wake up. The fig sap has begun to flow. In other regions, figs are still dormant. In any case, you need to hurry up with the formation on the crown of the tree. Today I want to talk about my experiences in formation of young fig plants using a half-forgotten method, which is not used undeservedly rarely. Let's look at my Tabali fig. I formed this bush on a trellis in the form of two armed cordon in two levels. At the top level, the branch of the left and the branch of the right are clearly visible. The right branch is thinner than the left, and at its base, the remains of blue plasticine are visible from above, and under the plasticine there is a small area with an even bark. The left branch is much more powerful. This happened because initially the left branch was strong, while the right branch was very small and weak. The development of the right branch required a special technique. After her, trace remained blue plasticine and an even bark. The technique turned out to be successful, and now there are two strong branches on the bush. I cut off the central stem much later, after the formation of two strong branches, and now I have here a two-shoulder cordon successfully formed on the trellis in two levels. Let's look at another plant. Here in a pot grows my fig from the Smyrna group, which 3 years ago I planned to grow on a trellis. At that time, at the low level, fig has a good branch going to the right. Here it is. But there was no strong branch opposite it on the left. I had to custom build it. It worked out. A branch of the same power was formed on the left. But later I decided to leave the plant in the pot, and I simply cut off a fairly powerful branch on the left for propagation by cuttings. A lot of time has passed. A new replacement shoot has already grown on the rest of the branch, but the trace of a special manipulation is still visible. These are the remains of blue plasticine, and under them is a patch of uneven, bumpy bark. Before moving on to the technique itself and showing it, let's cut down a branch of one of my figs and look at a fresh cut. Yes, this is usual picture of fresh cut. Plant anatomy is a rather complicated science, but we will not dive deep into it. We will only need knowledge from a school biology course. Each of us remembers that in the middle is the core, where nutrients are stored. Next comes the wood, which conducts water and dissolved mineral salts from the roots to the top of the tree or branch. It is followed by a thin layer of the cambium, cells that divide and form the new tissues. And then comes the bark, along which the movement of substances goes in two directions. From the bottom up, organic nutrients stored earlier move upwards in the direction of the buds of flowers and fruits, and from top to bottom, organic substances formed as a result of photosynthesis move from the top, including hormones, move down from the top. Inhibitors then inhibit vegetative growth. Therefore, while the top of the tree is intact, The lower branches do not develop or develop very weakly, but as soon as the top is cut off, the inhibitors stop coming down and the active growth of the shoots begins. In addition, this is facilitated by the intake of previously stored nutrients from below, which now accumulate below the cut point. All these processes were observed by every gardener who pruned trees. Let's look at this fig in a pot. This is a bush of this bay variety. The thick branches of which I cut off at different times. The shoot, which has already been pruned at a high level for a long time, woke up and young leaves appeared. The shoot is slow cut recently until it awakens. I did not cut the third shoot, and its height is above 2 meters. Obviously, I don't like this setup, but there are a lot of fruit buds on it, and I feel sorry for losing them. I want to see us buy ripen figs. I will try to combine the expectation of the harvest and the more successful formation of this shoot. There are no side branches that could be developed on this shoot, but I found a couple of good buds. One of them is a fruit bud and other is a vegetative, which you can experiment. So if I want to prune, I would prune this shoot right above these buds. But I will not cut it, but I will do just such a simple manipulation with a sharp knife. Stepping back 6 or 7 millimeters up above the buds, I make a semi-lunar incision in the bark to the very wood. Yes, the subflow has already begun. It would be better to do it early. Well, no problem. I make the second semi-lunar incision a few millimeters higher than the first, so that the edges of the incisions are connected. Now I can remove a characteristically shaped piece of the bark. With a knife, I clean the edges of the cut and scrape off the cambium layer from the wood, because I do not need this cut to grow quickly. Here's what I got. It can be seen that the incision should be of sufficient width. You can do this procedure with a saw, but I like the knife better because of the better control. Now transport from bottom to top and from top to bottom along the bark will be blocked in this area. The last thing to do is to close the incision. I could do this with special mastic, but I will not break the tradition and again use blue plasticine. By the way, such an incision can be made not only above a branch or bud, but also under a branch or under a bud. In this case, the effect will be opposite. weakening or inhibition of vegetative growth. So, our incision was securely closed with the plasticine. The buds remained free. Now we can only observe the effectiveness of our technique. It does not give a 100% guarantee of effect, but in the vast majority of cases, it sharply increases the chances of increased development of a bud or shoot. That's all. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, and together we will watch the growth and ripening of wonderful Israeli figs.